Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Journey to Purpose. With me today, I have the wonderful Maria Gallucci. Maria, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Me too. First, very easy question is, where in the world are you today?
So I'm in Denver, Colorado. So I'm in
Ah,
the West Coast.
somewhere I haven't been, but it is on my list.
Yeah, it's so pretty here. And it hasn't snowed yet, but it usually does by Halloween, but hasn't yet.
Oh, should be coming then, hopefully.
Yeah,
Good
exactly.
snowman on the way. So, Maria, thank you for joining. So, you've had an amazing life. You started out you talk about being a child of deaf adults, and from that, you've obviously worked into working in overlooked communities. So, tell me, what was it like as a starting point? Being that child of deaf adults, what was it like? What did you have to do to support your parents?
I think it was my normal because that's all I knew was American Sign Language, which is ASL was my first language. So that was like what I grew up with. It was the
Amazing.
only thing that I knew. And so I think that growing up in the deaf culture and the deaf and hard of hearing world has taught me to have more empathy and more compassion towards people because it was being different and it's okay to be different.
Absolutely. And so when you started school, then how? I guess it's going to sound like a really basic question, but how did you learn to speak not ASL, as it were?
So my parents told me that we always learned to speak through the TV. So we were
Right.
learning to speak through TV, or we actually had speech therapy growing up. And so I've always stuttered my entire life. So I was like, but I don't stutter in sign language. But so I've always stuttered, and so I was already in speech therapy and for
Right.
that. And so my parents always told us that we had learned to speak through like our friends and counselors and the TV and things like that.
Amazing. And one of the things so I'm a linguist. My first degree was in languages, and I always thought that BSL or ASL was something that everyone should learn. But really, it must be quite a small proportion of the population who actually can sign. Is that right?
Yeah, and only 10% of that's a rough number, but only 10% of hearing parents who have deaf children actually learn to sign, and vice versa.
Oh,
So
wow.
both of my like my grandparents, they didn't know how to sign either. So I
Right.
think that it's like you have to communicate, I think. So I think it's like it's hard to make sure that people aren't feeling isolated or left out.
Yeah, I can imagine. And both your parents are deaf, is that right?
Yes, but both are. My dad was born deaf, and my mom became deaf at 9 months from like the chickenpox and the measles, or like
Oh,
that at the same time.
goodness. That's quite a lot. So, and do you have any siblings?
I do. There's 6 of us, so there's four.
Oh,
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah, and we're all hearing. So there's 4 girls and 2 boys.
I don't know. Does that mean that when you guys would squabble as kids, like your parents maybe wouldn't notice because just that silence instead?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that I still remember like going on a field trip and my mom coming to pick me up, and I would sign to my mom across the parking lot and like, oh, your parents are deaf. I'm like, yeah, because I always thought it was just like my normal. So to me, I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's just how it is.
Amazing. And so, how did you end up helping them buy a house then? Is that right? You at the age of 12,
Yeah,
you did
well,
that.
we were on our way to close on the house, and so I didn't plan that for me. I thought I was just gonna go with them to the house place, but they when they got there was no interpreter or anything, and so they were just trying to explain the closing documents and all of the loan like documents without an interpreter. And so I stepped up and I'm like, oh, let me help interpret this so they could understand like what was going on and what they were signing. And so it was always my mission, like after seeing that happen, like I will never feel anybody or like leave anybody out or make them feel isolated or left out and not understand what they're doing.
That's amazing. So, and this is what's led you to the work that you're doing now. Then that kind of was that pinnacle moment, or was it something that just grew naturally from what you were doing with your own family?
Yeah, exactly. So I felt like, well, I loved finance and I loved real estate. And so, and helping them out, show me like, hey, I'm going to make sure I try to help everybody understand what they're doing and what that they're signing.
No, that's amazing. And I think, I mean, communication is key. It's one of those conversations I have a lot around connection and community. And I think, there's a horrible statistic about loneliness being one of the biggest killers of people. When you're in the deaf community or other marginalized communities, that inability to communicate just increases the already difficult position that you're in, I,
Position that
I
they're
guess.
in. Yeah, exactly. 100%. 100% agree. And I feel like everybody just wants to be accepted and loved and just feel like their authentic self. And I think that if we
Mm.
like just one act of kindness to someone a day can make their entire day.
100%, definitely. Particularly in a world where, we've got more ways of connecting, and yet people seem to be more isolated. And I wonder if it's because we're replacing the human physical part with online tools or online communities. And there is a certain amount of benefit from that. And I know some online communities have saved lives because they exist. But I think that psychologically, if you can connect human to human in some way, it's 10 times more powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And the in the deaf and hard of hearing and the deaf culture, we're very expression like based, and we have to see each other and feel each other to understand what we're talking about, because it's all about expressions with us.
Yeah. I remember I worked for a company a couple of years ago doing a contract, and that was the first time I'd seen BSL interpreters on a call. So we had two deaf coders, they were developers, and I'd never seen it on a call before. And I was like, this is fantastic, because this shows that it can be done, but also again is that point around the expression, the physicality of it. I guess even with the interpreters, it gets harder. And I had a client from my therapy business who had a lot of anxiety because he was partially deaf, but he hadn't told anyone because his was from serving in the military. He didn't want anyone to know that he was this partially deaf. And I said, but how do you cope? He said, well, people think I'm grumpy because I don't engage, because I can't
You
hear.
can't hear,
And
yeah.
so yeah, so I was like, well, how would it feel if you could, you know, just say to them, or say to someone, like the chair of the meeting, look, I struggle in meetings to hear things. Can we, we slow things down? Can you do that? And it's a very simple thing, but of course there's a two-way part on this. Is one is this particular incident no one knew, so like I said, unfortunately the onus is on you. You have to tell people. Like, if you want to engage, you have to make that first
You have to
step.
make the first effort. Yeah.
Yeah, but then if someone is clearly part of the deaf community and they're signing, then actually you already have seen the visibility that there's something that you might need to consider to make them more included. Do you find that the people just don't know where to start?
Yes, I feel like people are afraid of making a mistake or not feeling like they're helping, but they are, because
Mm.
if you do, and that's why I think my motto is just try, especially in the book and stuff, because it's like if you just try, that makes an effort in itself. Like, because they can read and write, you can just type something on your phone and show it to them, and so or just like little like thank you or hi, like that makes a big difference in their mind, because you're trying to make an effort for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I find it when I travel and speak other languages. So I love going to countries where I don't speak the language, but I love to try.
Yeah.
And I never have a bad experience. Sometimes they don't understand me, which is absolutely fine.
But you
But
tried,
like,
and that's the you learn,
exactly.
and that's the whole point. Is like if you just make an effort on any community, not just the deaf culture, but on any community. If you're just trying to connect with somebody, because it's all about connection at the end of the day, and all
Yeah,
of us will want to feel connected.
yeah. And I think making the effort, like you say, even one or two words. I mean, we always joke in the UK that we know how to say please, thank you, and like two beers in
Yeah,
most languages, and some swear words, obviously.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but you can go a bit further than that quite easily. Yeah, and I always think it's respectful when we travel to do that. But actually, it's respectful when we're in our own community and we have people with different abilities, just to kind of go, how do I help you feel more included? How can I help you feel more at ease?
Yeah,
And therefore be more part of the conversation.
exactly. How can I help you feel more included? Because you don't ever want to make anybody feel like an outcast or an outsider, and so just the gesture of trying to make them feel included and like you're trying to learn their language makes a big difference.
Mm, definitely. So you've written a book recently. Recently? I want to say
Yes.
recently.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So what was the book about, and what inspired you to write it?
So the book is about being raised as a CODA, which is a child of deaf adults. And it's about just my childhood experience about growing up and trying to advocate for any community, because it's not just for the deaf and hard of hearing community. It's for like it could be for teachers or educators. It's just about making people feel inclusive and making them feel like they're seen and heard. And so I wrote the book for a love letter to the deaf and hard of hearing community, just to make them know that I see them, I feel them, and I'm there for them.
That's amazing. And she just reminded me because a couple of years ago there was an Oscar-winning film with I think deaf people in it.
Yeah, it was called CODA. Yep.
Um,
I know.
it was
Yeah,
called
it's
CODA.
CODA.
I thought it
Yep.
was, yeah. And I remember, I mean, because I think one of the actresses or some of the actors were British. I remember that being a big thing over here. But it's really interesting when you think about representation and how to make people feel welcome and how little there is in the media, for example, and on TV. And we had a TV series over here where we had a blind, not a blind, a deaf lady who played an assistant who interpreted for the police. She could lip read because she was partially deaf and all the rest of it. And again, it was such a welcome response, and even by people who aren't hard of hearing or deaf, because it helps you to learn how easy it is actually to integrate and how easy it's to be inclusive. You just have to
You just
try,
have
like
to
you
try.
say.
Yeah. And I think it was, it's okay. Everyone's different and it's okay to be different. But I think that if you give the effort and to just try to understand them or try to like connect with them, I think that's
Mm,
huge.
yeah, definitely. If you could change one or two things about sort of the way the world is currently and to make it more inclusive, from your experience, what were those things? Are there one or two things that you think are just really easy things, and why don't we do them right now?
I think that it would be to listen with your whole heart, communicate, like have them put yourself in their shoes. Like, would you want that to be done to you? And so I think that if you just try to feel them and listen to them, because all everyone wants to be is just seen and heard.
I love that. And do you think there are any big misconceptions that people have in general about, about the deaf and hard of hearing in particular, but any sort of marginalized community, that you've seen repeatedly that you've kind of gone, this is just not true. Why, we've got to stop thinking this way.
Yeah, I think that they can't like they're not as smart as hearing people, which is not true.
No.
They're just as smart as we are. And I think that one of the big misconceptions of the deaf and hard of hearing community is that they can lip read, and not all of them can. And so I can, and some of my siblings as well. But I think that a lot of people think they can lip read, and then if you talk louder, they'll hear you, but they won't.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what? There are a lot of parallels between foreign travel and like being hard of hearing, isn't there? If I just speak a bit louder,
I
you
know,
might
and
understand me
they're
in
not
my own
gonna hear
language.
you. They're still not gonna understand in any language.
There's definitely something about the human psyche
Yeah,
and what was that, definition of insanity is repeating the same thing again and again and thinking a different outcome's going to happen.
exactly. And it doesn't. It's always the same.
Crazy. So you've written the book. So it's for anybody, as you say, but what work do you do now then? So how are you supporting the community? Because it's a lot of, is it everything they do or is it most of what you do?
It's most of what I do. So I'm a real estate agent, and I'm mostly in the deaf and hard of hearing community because I'm fluent in ASL. And so for them to be able to communicate to a real estate agent, which is one of their biggest purchases in their entire life, is huge for them. So I do all
Mm.
walks of life for real estate, but I specialize in the deaf and hard of hearing community for sure.
And obviously, we talked about you can do things online. With your work, do you do it mostly in person or do you sort of provide online support as well?
I do. Well, we have video phones now and FaceTime. Like technology has come such a long way now than it was
Yeah.
before. So I'm able to communicate with them all like with either online, in person, or but they do like, sorry, it's my puppy.
Hey,
He's like,
never apologize for having a puppy.
say hi, and then you have to go back out there. Sorry.
Hi.
We might have to cut this
For those
this part out, but
for No, no, for those who get the audio version, they're gonna have to go and watch the video to see how cute your puppy
yeah,
is.
like sorry, he's jumping up on me. So I feel like if you knowing their language and knowing how to communicate with them, I think is huge because it makes a big di- difference because you're talking to them in
Yeah.
you're communicating them to them with the knowledge and things like that. I think that makes a big difference.
How big of an issue do you see the current way the world operates for people who like focusing again on deaf and hard of hearing? I'm thinking about everything from meetings, going to the bank, buying a house. Is it the case where if you can't get an interpreter, you're almost excluded from being able to do these everyday activities?
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of the workplaces don't provide interpreters, even for sales meetings or any of their quarterly meetings, because they think, oh, we'll have the closed captioning on, or we'll tell them later like how it is. And that's not, number one, I don't think it's fair. I think you should actually provide the communication that they need while they're there. And especially with sign language, you see the emotion, and you see the what when you're signing, and then that's a completely different story than having a closed caption, because you can't feel the expressions of something,
Mm,
because we can hear each other's tones when we're talking, but when like you're signing, you have to see their expression. So I feel like it's like making them feel like they're isolated and like not included.
I totally get that. Firstly, I don't know how to ask this without probably sounding slightly offensive. Like, people talk about when you lose a sense, you get your heightened other senses. And I think the ability to read like someone's facial emotions or someone's like physical emotion, like not everyone has that. Is it heightened in the deaf community, or is that just again a bit of a myth?
Oh no, it's 100%. It's even heightened with me too, because I can feel people's emotions, and I can read their expressions and everything. And when they wear sunglasses, or anyone, it's hard for me to communicate with them, because I have to see
Right.
their expressions and have to see like their eyes. So I think body language, and being able to see them is huge, and ASL especially. And even I can't like sit next to somebody, like well, I can sit next to them, but if I'm talking to them, I actually have to turn my
You
chair,
can.
because I've got to like be able to see them and communicate with them. Like, feel their
That's interesting.
expressions and everything.
That is amazing. And again, I think understanding that extra level, that extra barrier to communication that video
Yeah.
presents then, because even if you have closed captions, but and I do it in meetings as well. And like I've got terrible eyesight, and I wear glasses and all the rest of it. And I still find that, particularly as I get older,
Yeah,
having a screen full of people, I have to then make sure that it's spotlighted on the person who's talking so that I can follow what they're saying. Um, just because I like to see them talking, and on video I like prefer to see the expression and everything else. And I'm not hard of hearing. I just like to see. So you think again,
exactly.
if I struggle as I am now, then you can understand how hard it. Well, you can't understand, but you can start to build a picture of how hard it is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny that you said it, because I was on a Zoom call the other day, and there was multiple people, and I didn't know which one was talking, and I had to find the person, like where is she talking, because I've got to see her. And so I think
Yeah.
like looking at people and being present is huge. And I think that if you're wearing sunglasses, or your back is turned, and you're still talking, you're not being present or listening, in my opinion.
It's a really good point. And again, even if you're not hard of hearing, but that being present, because how many times, I mean, my husband has to get me when I do this. If I'm on the phone and he comes and wants to talk to me, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep scrolling for a moment.
Yeah.
And and I try not to, but I'm not being present for him. And actually, he does it to me, so let's be fair. But two wrongs don't make a right.
We wish it would, but it
But
doesn't.
yeah, yeah, I know. God damn it, he's wrong and I'm wrong, and there's just nothing you can do about it. But again, being present would just improve the communication for everybody, regardless of the situation. I think that's what I'm hearing, and you're totally right about.
I agree. I think that people in general, not just the deaf culture, but we're on our phones a lot, like because of technology and everything. And I feel like we are like disengaging from actually how we were long time ago, when we were actually together and a family eating dinner and stuff. Where all of us are on our phones. Even if you go on a date or anything, like you're still like on your phone. So I think being present and just listening to the other person makes such a big difference in a lot of people.
Definitely. So I've got a lovely friend. He's American, actually, from originally from New York. Now lives in Chicago. Now lives in London. He's such a traveler. He will stop talking if you get your phone out. I discovered this because I wanted
That's
to
a good
make a note
idea.
of something he was saying. No, it really is. And he does it so that you're focused, but also he's really disciplined about not having his phone. But sometimes I want to make notes. So I now know if I want to make notes about something he's saying to me, I'm like, I'm just going to take notes on this, and then I put my phone away again. That's what I'm doing. But it was a really good lesson because he did it in such a lovely way. And because like I'd checking my phone out just to make a note of something he'd said, and he was like, and I stopped talking. I was like, why have you stopped? He's like, well, you're on your phone. I was like, no, I'm writing down what you're telling me. He's like, tell me. So, but it was a really good lesson. And now I try, and again, I'm better with other people than my husband. I've got to work on that. Um, but when we go out with actually with my husband as well, but we'll try and put our phones away. But sometimes I find it useful to write things down to remember them. But it's about going, I'm just going to write this down, then I'm back
And you're
present with
back
you
and
100%.
present for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the deaf culture, they're really, when we're talking, we're using our hands. So we can't be on
Mm,
the phone. So
yeah.
we're very connected. And I think that that builds a special bond because we're always present for them because we're signing. So we can't like be
You have
talking
to
in
be.
on our phones. Like we are actually communicating with each other.
And I honestly, it's such a good lesson to be reminded of the need for connection.
Uh-huh.
I also like the idea though, and I do this with some of the languages that I speak. Like I love the fact that I can understand somebody, like say I'm in London, I'm on the tube and I hear someone speaking a language I speak, I'm like, they don't know that I understand. Um, but it's the same with ASL. Like obviously you can see people having conversations of ASL, you see, but you might not understand. And I actually kind of love the juxtaposition of that secret world on one hand, which is, this is a lovely place where you can be safe and have your conversations. And actually, unless you bother to learn ASL, you don't understand.
Yeah.
But conversely, that again creates a barrier.
Yeah, exactly. And I always forget, like, if I'm talking to a hearing person when I have my deaf friends with me, I have to make sure that I sign to make them feel included. But it goes the opposite way too. Like when I'm with my deaf friends and deaf and hard of hearing friends, and I have my hearing friends, and I'm just signing because I sign really fast, and the hearing friends are like, Maria, what are you saying? I don't know what you're saying, but it's nice to be able to like talk across the room, like either to my sisters or
Mm.
brother, like, "Hey, can you get my drink order in sign language?" And like no one's like knowing what you're saying. I love that.
It is a gift. It is a wonderful gift. I think any form of communication skill is a real gift, and having more than one is a real gift. But it does make you that bridge for the communities fundamentally.
It does. It like bridges the gap, I think, between like, and I think that was
Mm,
my purpose too, to bridge the gap between the deaf and hard of hearing community and the hearing community, and to know that we can all become one. I mean, just learning little signs or even trying to communicate with them even though you don't know how, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as you're making the effort, that makes a big difference.
definitely. When the Ukrainian war started, we took a lot of Ukrainian refugees in the UK, and one of my languages is Russian. So I volunteered as a translator. And I tell you what, I never studied medical Russian, and I had to do a lot of doctors and dentist translations. And I'm like, they're going, so they need to put what's the word for filling and what's the word for this. But like, they didn't mind that I wasn't perfect because I was still, 80% there. I just had to learn how to do. I mean, by the end of it, I knew how to do all the medical stuff because turns out that was a lot we had to deal with. But again, I think making us even a small bit of effort
Mhm.
is all. I've never seen it not appreciated.
Exactly, and it just makes their whole day. You don't know what they're going through that day. You don't know what they're going through in their life, but if you just try, and you can change their whole outlook of that entire day. Like if they're upset in the
Yeah,
morning and then you're just trying, they're like, "Oh, this person was really sweet to me." That can make their entire day and change their world.
yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
And so going back to your book, then, so what is your hope? What's your book called? I can't remember if we said that. Just in case,
Um,
tell us again.
Raised in Silence. And so you can go to
Raised in Silence.
raisedinscience.com, and it's on Amazon. It's on all book platforms right now. We just released the hardcover yesterday. So we have
Amazing,
Kindle,
congratulations.
audio is about to be released in a few days, and then we have a Kindle paperback and hardback right now.
So, considering our conversation, who do you think should read or listen to this book?
I think teachers, educators, the deaf and hard of hearing cultures, business leaders. There's tips at every every end of every chapter, and like leaders. I think it just teaches people how to communicate and how to connect more. And so it's for everyone. It's not for anyone in particular. I think everybody would enjoy it.
And I think going back to the whole thing around connection and community, the more we learn about other people, the better we are in ourselves and the better we can communicate and be present for other people, regardless of the situation.
Yes, exactly. I agree, and I think that that's what my whole goal was, is just to try to connect people and just try to make I'm not gonna obviously end world peace or anything, but I just want everyone to know that love is love, and it's okay to be different, and it's okay to just try.
Do you know what? I think actually if people accepted those principles, we probably would like bring world peace around
Yeah,
because that's the
exactly. Yeah,
fundamental
we
problem with
need
half
that
these
too.
things. Just be nice to each
I
other,
know,
people.
just be
It's
kind.
okay.
It gets further.
And so, do you have a vision for the work that you're doing and community and it's community work? Like, is there a bigger sort of idea that you're working towards?
To make everybody more inclusive and to be more accepting towards people who are different, because you may think you're normal, but you're also different from everybody else. So I think that if we're just kind to everybody and realize that it's okay that everyone is different, and just because your principles or your communication style is different, it's okay that we all just come together and try to advocate for each other and be inclusive.
Definitely. I love that. It's something that I've learned as I've got older, and I'm sure you have too. And the one thing I'm really grateful for is how loving and supporting my family is. But we are a bunch of weirdos. I'll tell you that now. But then what I realize is that everybody's a weirdo in their own way.
Exactly.
Like
That's
all
my
families are
point. So it's
weird, you know.
okay. It's okay to be different.
Exactly. In fact, as you get older, it matters less because I think as you get older, you realize just being comfortable in yourself
Mm.
and,
Being
you
your
know,
authentic self.
be,
Yeah.
exactly. So I don't know. I think we have to redefine this idea of normal as not be, like if someone's normal, they're clearly some sort of psychopath, is my theory now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like nobody actually normal would be that normal.
No
No,
one's
there's
no
something
one's
wrong with them.
normal. Yeah, exactly. I love that theory.
There's no science
I
behind
know.
it, just the world of just the world according to Nipper. But no, you are right. And again, I do think that being kind to yourself is really a crucial message here. And again, from your upbringing of living in two worlds, is there anything that you have seen improve since you were a child?
Technology, big time, especially for that community, because now we're seeing more and more interpreters on news programs, on the Super Bowl, and so I think that and on your phone too, like you're able to FaceTime now. We have the video phones now, so I think technology has made such an improvement for that, for being inclusive.
Do you think that people's behavior has changed, or have we just used the technology to replace the problems in terms of that actual behavioral approach to things?
I feel like people are being more inclusive in the deaf culture. I think that they're realizing like, oh, like they can't hear us, so let's do something better to help that community out.
That's good. There's hope.
Yeah, exactly. There's hope. It's got to be something somewhere.
Do you know what? There's always hope.
Yeah,
There is
exactly, and that's
always
all you
hope.
need is hope.
Absolutely. So we kind of learned about being kind to people, being inclusively accepting. If people want to work with you, how do they find you?
GalluciHomes.com, and I have a national in the U.S. Real estate company to help deaf and hard of hearing individuals nationally find agents who actually sign to help them understand things better. And so that's ASL Realty. And then the book is on raisedinsilience.com.
Amazing. How many ASL interpreters are there in the US? Are there enough? I guess is my question.
I think we do have a shortage, but we're hoping to get more. A
Okay.
lot more and more people are getting their license to interpret. So I'm hoping it's going to get bigger and better.
If someone wanted to learn more about ASL, could they come to you as just as a kind of like a, hey, how do I go about this? Is that something people can do?
Absolutely, yeah,
Or is there
because
something they sort of
there's
get?
a lot of outlets online and even in the state that they're in, that they can learn ASL or help with that.
Amazing. So you can listen to this, go and learn ASL or BSL or whatever country you're in. SL, fantastic. Gallucci Homes is the website to
Yes.
find Maria
Yep.
online. And I think anything else that you want people to know before we kind of sign off for the day?
That love is love, and everybody just be kind.
Love that. Love is love. Everyone be kind. Maria, you have been wonderful and very kind and very patient. Thank you ever so much for joining us. And please, everyone, go and find Maria. Go and support the ASL learning, support the communities around you, and just remember that if someone's normal, they're probably a psychopath. Thanks, Maria. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for having me.